They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders, nothing stays quiet, not even the rumors. Big changes are brewing on the defensive side, and if you're a true member of Raider Nation, you're going to want to hear every detail. A new report from respected Raiders insider Vincent Bonsignore has sparked major conversation around the team's 53-man roster projections, this time focusing on the defense. Among the biggest surprises, veteran defensive tackle Matthew Leki. Fotu might not survive the final roster cuts. Yes, you heard that right. Despite signing a one-year deal this offseason, his spot isn't safe. Now, this doesn't mean the Raiders are cutting him today. But come August, when final decisions hit, Fotu could be on the outside looking in. So, who's taking his spot? Bonsignore believes the Raiders' defensive front could include names like Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, Nesta Jade Silvera, Byron Young, John P. Laulu, J.J. Peggs, and Zach Carter, a surprise name rising fast in camp. This reshuffling means the Raiders are dead serious about becoming a top-tier defensive unit. Wilkins, Butler, and company are bringing serious heat, and Fotu might just be the odd man out. But before we dive deeper into these defensive shakeups, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and don't forget to ring the bell icon so you never miss a beat on Raiders news. Trust me, you'll want to stay ahead of what's coming next. All right, let's jump back in. Max Crosby looks locked in, fired up and ready to dominate. He's not just aiming to lead the team, he wants to lead the league. And if Malcolm Kuntz returns to full strength, the Raiders could have one of the most explosive edge duos in the NFL. But here's the twist. Christian Wilkins, a major offseason addition, still has no clear return date. That uncertainty could change the fate of players like Leki Fotu, who's quietly become more valuable than many realize. Fotu has been getting starter reps in minicamp. Why? Because he's big, experienced, and frankly, if Wilkins can't go, Fotu may be the only plug left for the middle. He may not be flashy, but he's a dependable nose tackle with NFL experience. The team also has solid rotational options. Adam Butler, Tyree Wilson, Amari Burney, Jordan Willis, and rookie standouts like Hemingway and Peggs fighting to break through. But depth doesn't mean security. Cutting Fotu might save the Raiders $782,000. But losing a starter-capable tackle in Wilkins' absence could cost far more than money. There's a battle brewing in the trenches, and it might come down to one brutal decision: Zach Carter or Leki Fotu. Only one may survive the final cut. The Raiders' coaching staff has a tough call to make. Zach Carter, former third-rounder from Cincinnati, stepped up last season when injuries hit the defensive line. He wasn't flashy, but he was reliable, and the front office took notice. But here's the problem. Carter is what scouts call a tweener. At 290 pounds, he's not a pure nose tackle, and the Raiders already have plenty of those hybrid body types. Think Tyree Wilson, Hemingway, Peggs. They're all in that same mold. Meanwhile, Leki Fotu brings something different: size, strength, and true interior presence. If Christian Wilkins isn't fully healthy by camp, Fotu becomes almost essential. Carter does have one advantage. He saves the Raiders $1.1 million if released, with zero dead cap. But is that savings worth sacrificing depth in the middle? At this point, it's a coin toss. Both players bring value, but only one fills the gap if Wilkins misses time, and that might be what tips the scales. Let's be honest, tough roster choices define championship teams. And for the Raiders, one of the hardest decisions might come down to Fotu versus Carter, and an unexpected name, Fotu Eichenberg, getting left off the 53rd. If it were up to need alone, Leki Fotu stays. Why? Because the Raiders don't just need talent. They need bodies who can clog the trenches and eat up blocks, so players like Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, and Tyree Wilson can attack freely. That's not Zach Carter's game. That's Fotu's specialty. Now, if Zach Carter makes the team over Fotu by the end of August, it likely means Christian Wilkins is fully healthy, and the Raiders may be leaning into a youth-first strategy. Carter is younger, quicker, and more versatile, but not the nose tackle this defense relies on in key situations. As for linebacker, here's the real shocker. Raiders insider Vincent Bonsignore predicts the team will cut rookie Fotu Eichenberg, despite the fact that he was just drafted in the 5th round this year. Eichenberg, an Ohio State product, looked like a lock early on. He's tough, disciplined, and offers clear special teams value. But the numbers game is brutal. With names like Jermaine Pratt, Allandon Roberts, Devin White, Cody Lindenberg, and Amari Gaynor all competing for spots, the linebacker room is stacked, and only 4 to 6 will make it. The final decision might come down to how well players can contribute on special teams, especially with the NFL's new kickoff rules forcing teams to think creatively about roster flexibility. In short, Eichenberg's talent isn't the issue. It's the numbers. And in this league, that's sometimes all it takes. It's never easy when potential collides with reality. And for Tommy Eichenberg, the writing might already be on the wall. The linebacker room is tight, and talent alone isn't enough to guarantee a spot. With Jermaine Pratt, Allandon Roberts, and Devin White leading the charge, the Raiders already have a solid, experienced trio ready to go. Now, enter Cody Lindenberg, a 7th-round pick. But don't let the draft slot fool you. Coaches handed him the green dot during minicamp, giving him defensive communication duties, a rare vote of confidence for any rookie. That signal-calling role suggests the team is already planning for him to be on the field regularly. This leaves Eichenberg in a tough spot. He's talented, he's tough, but the Raiders already have too many players with a similar skill set, and some are simply more favored by the current regime. It's not a knock on Eichenberg's ability. In fact, with his background and discipline, he'll likely land somewhere else in the NFL. But in Vegas, he's the odd man out, for now. And while fans might debate names like Amari Gaynor or Eichenberg all day long, roster cuts come down to scheme fit, versatility, and special teams upside. Unfortunately for Tommy, those final checkboxes may be what decides his fate. Cornerback battles are heating up in Vegas, and if you're thinking it's a done deal, think again, because 2 names are rising fast, and one dark horse isn't giving up just yet. According to a new projection by Raiders insider Vincent Bonsignore, the current frontrunners to start at cornerback are Eric Stokes and Decorian DJ Porter, and honestly, that makes sense. Stokes, a former first-round pick, brings speed, experience, and a physical edge the Raiders desperately need in their secondary. Porter, a 3rd-round rookie, has been making waves all offseason. He's aggressive, quick, and looks NFL ready from the jump. But the job's far from locked down. Jacorian Bennett, last year's 4th-round pick, is still very much in the race. Before suffering a shoulder injury in 2023, Bennett flashed the kind of potential that could make him a long-term starter. Bonsignore also notes the team could keep 6 cornerbacks, with some safeties capable of shifting over when needed. Names like Thomas Harper are worth watching. He's versatile, smart, and could quietly become a valuable rotational piece in the secondary. As of now, Stokes and Porter may be penciled in as the starters, but come August, don't be shocked if Bennett makes his move. Training camp will reveal a lot. And in this secondary, nothing is guaranteed yet. The Raiders say they're confident in their cornerbacks. But actions speak louder than words, especially when the front office is quietly shopping for reinforcements. While Eric Stokes and DJ Porter look like the starting duo today, the Raiders aren't putting all their chips on the table just yet. Behind the scenes, the team has been actively exploring the free agent market for cornerback help. They recently brought in Shaquille Griffin for a closer look. He's a capable veteran, but as of now, he doesn't project to beat out Stokes or Porter for a starting role. Still, the interest speaks volumes. One big surprise on the market? Jair Alexander, who was originally speculated as a Raiders target, ended up signing with the Baltimore Ravens for just $6 million. That kind of deal turned heads around the league, including in Vegas. But Alexander isn't the only name being floated. If the Raiders were to land someone like Stephon Gilmore, Kendall Fuller, Asante Samuel Jr., or Rasul Douglas, the pecking order could change fast. Gilmore or Douglas in particular would likely walk straight into a starting role. And then there's the slot corner spot. That's where a name like Mike Hilton becomes interesting. Proven, physical, and disruptive inside. Bottom line, the Raiders know their current secondary needs help. And when insiders say that the defensive backfield is the coaching staff's biggest concern coming out of minicamp and OTAs, they're not exaggerating. If the season started today, yes, it's Stokes and Porter. But if you're asking about confidence in the group as a whole, right now, it's hovering around a 4 or 5 out of 10. Improvement is possible, but but the front office knows reinforcements might be necessary. The secondary may be shaky, but one question could define how the Raiders build their final roster. Do they keep 4 safeties or 5? Confidence in the Raiders' defensive backs? Let's call it a 5 out of 10. Hopeful for the young talent, but still cautious. Porter has promise. Stokes brings experience. And if Jacorian Bennett stays healthy, there's something to build on. But let's be real. The man who makes that number feel even remotely stable is Pete Carroll. Without his defensive track record, this would be a 2 or 3. Now, on to the final big rumor, one that could shape how this defense finishes camp. According to Vincent Bonsignore, the Raiders are expected to keep 5 safeties on the 53-man roster. That list includes Trey Taylor, Thomas Harper, Lonnie Johnson Jr., Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Pola-Mao. It's a surprising call, especially when earlier projections lean toward keeping just 4. The decision seems to come at the expense of linebacker Fotu Eichenberg, showing just how tight the competition has become across the defensive depth chart.